There was a man in our town who lost his wife of 40 years, and for a long while after, he still set 2 cups of coffee on the table every morning. His daughter worried the first time she saw it, but he told her he was not confused and he was not stuck. Pouring that second cup was simply how he said good morning to her, the way he always had. Tonight, pull your chair close to the fire, and let me tell you what the old ones knew about carrying a loss like that, and why loving someone does not have to end when they do. I want to say something to you before we begin, and I want to say it plainly. If you have come to this fire tonight carrying a loss, if there is a name you cannot say out loud yet without your voice going, then you are welcome here, and you do not have to do anything but sit. I am not going to tell you how to feel. I am not going to hand you 5 steps and send you on your way as if grief were a chore to finish. I am an old storyteller, not a doctor and not a preacher, and all I have for you tonight are the things the grandmothers and grandfathers understood about sorrow, passed down around fires much older than this one. Take what helps, leave the rest. The fire does not mind. Now, that man and his 2 cups of coffee. When his daughter finally asked him about it, gently, the way you ask someone you love a hard question, he did not get defensive. He just looked at the second cup a while, and he said, "Your mother poured mine for 39 years, and I never once thanked her the way I should have. Pouring hers is the closest I can come to it now." And then he drank his coffee, and he went out to his work, and he was, by every account, a steady man who carried his days well. He was not broken. He was carrying her. And there is a whole world of difference between those 2 things, a difference the old ones understood in their bones, and one that we have somehow talked ourselves out of remembering. So let me start there, with the first thing they knew. Grief is the price of love. That is the whole of it, really. The old ones never scolded a grieving person, never told them to hurry, never acted as though sorrow were a weakness or a failure of faith, because they understood a simple thing. You cannot love someone for years, cannot weave your days together with theirs, cannot learn the sound of their step in the hall, and then have them gone and feel nothing. The grief is not separate from the love. It is the love still here, with the person it belongs to suddenly out of reach. If you did not want to grieve, the old ones might say, then you should not have loved. But no one gets to choose that, and no one would. So the size of your sorrow tonight is nothing to be ashamed of. It is the size of what you had. It is the last, hardest proof of how much you loved. We have lost that understanding, I think, somewhere along the way. We have started treating grief as a kind of problem, something that happens to a person, that they are supposed to work through and be finished with, on a schedule, quietly, without troubling anyone for too long. You have felt that pressure, maybe. The sense that after a certain number of weeks or months you are supposed to be past it, back to yourself, and that if you are not, something has gone wrong with you. The old ones would have shaken their heads at that. They knew grief was not a machine to be repaired and returned to service. They gave it room. They gave it time, more time than we allow now, and they did not measure a person's healing by how quickly they stopped hurting. Here is the second thing they knew, and it is the one I most want you to carry home from this fire. Love does not end when a life does. The bond you have with someone does not close at the graveside like a door. The old ones did not believe that the people we lose simply vanish out of our lives and are to be filed away and not spoken of. Quite the opposite. They believed you were allowed to keep loving someone who was gone, that you could still hold them, still honor them, still speak to them in the quiet, and they believed, deeply, that saying the name of the one you lost was not reopening a wound, it was keeping a fire lit. We get this so backwards now. People will avoid saying the name of your husband or your wife or your child because they are afraid of hurting you, afraid of reminding you, as if you had forgotten. as if there were a single hour of your day when you were not already carrying them. The truth, and any grieving person will tell you this if you ask them gently, is that the silence hurts far worse than the name. When someone says your lost one's name, when they tell you a story about them, when they let you talk, they are giving you a gift. They are saying, "This person was real, this person mattered, and I have not forgotten either." The old ones knew that. In many nations, the ones who had passed were spoken of, remembered out loud, kept in the stories the way a warm coal is kept in the ashes overnight so the morning fire can be built again. Say the name. It is not a wound, it is a fire you are tending. I knew a woman once, years back, who had lost her boy. He had been gone some time when I met her, but a mother does not measure that loss in years, and she carried it the way you carry something that has become part of your own weight. And she told me the thing that had hurt her most, in all of it, was not the day itself. It was the months after, when everyone around her had gone quiet about him, when they would change the subject if his name came up, thinking they were being kind. She said it made her feel as though he were being erased a second time, and that this time she was expected to help. And then she told me about a neighbor, an older man who did not have many words, who one evening simply said to her, "I think about your son. I remember how he used to fix that old bicycle out front." And she said she could have wept with gratitude because someone had said his name and had let him be real for one more minute in the world. That is the gift. It costs nothing, and it is worth everything. And if there is a grieving person in your life, you now know the kindest thing you can do for them. Say the name. Which brings me to the third thing, the one about carrying instead of getting over. You have heard people say it with the kindest of intentions. He needs to get over it. She needs to move on. And I understand what they mean, and I know they mean well. But the old ones would have found those words strange. Get over it. As if a great love were a wall you climb and leave behind you. You do not get over a great love. You do not get over the mother who raised you or the husband you built a life with, or, God help us, the child you were supposed to go before. You do not get over them, and you were never meant to. What you do is carry it. And here is the part the old ones understood that gives me such comfort, and I hope it will give you some too. You do not stay the same size around your grief. In the beginning, the loss is everything. It fills the whole room. It is the first thought in the morning and the last at night, and it seems impossible that you will ever hold anything else again. But you do not stay there, not because the loss shrinks. It does not really. But because you grow. Slowly, in ways you will not even notice while they are happening, your life grows larger around the loss. You add days, you add small joys, you add mornings that surprise you by being bearable. And the grief, which never leaves, becomes woven into the grain of you. It becomes part of who you are, the way a tree grows around an old fence wire until the wire is deep inside the wood, held, carried, part of the tree's own strength. That is not forgetting, that is carrying. And it is the truest thing I know to tell you about the years ahead. Now let me tell you about the waves, because this is the fourth thing, and it is the one that catches people off guard and makes them think they are going backward when they are not. Grief does not travel in a straight line. It would be easier if it did. If you could start at the worst and climb steadily out, a little better each day, until one morning you woke up done. But that is not how it goes, and anyone who has walked this road will nod at me now. Grief comes in waves. You can have a good week, a stretch where you feel almost like yourself, where you laugh at something and it does not cost you. And then a song comes on the radio, the one that was theirs, or you catch a smell, or you reach for the phone to tell them something before you remember, or the season turns and it is the anniversary your body knew was coming before your mind did. And the wave rises up out of nowhere and knocks you flat. When that happens, I want you to hear the old one's voice, and not the modern one. The modern voice says, "You were doing so well. What is wrong with you? You have slipped backward." The old one's voice says something kinder and truer. A wave arriving after a calm stretch is not failure. It is not backsliding. It is love keeping its appointments. It is the person you lost coming through the room one more time because the bond is still there and it still has something to say. Let the wave come. Let it do what it does. Sit down in it if you have to. And know that it will pass, the way waves pass, and set you back down on your feet, and that you have not lost the ground you gained. You are not going in circles. You are going through, and through is the only way out, and the old ones never once pretended otherwise. The fifth thing they knew is the one our world has forgotten most completely, and it may be the most important of all. You are not meant to carry this alone. The old ones did not hand a grieving person their sorrow and walk away and leave them to manage it in private. That would have been unthinkable. When someone died, the community closed in around the ones who mourned. They came and sat. They brought food so the grieving would not have to think about cooking. They said the name out loud. They told the stories, the funny ones and the tender ones, and they let the family laugh and cry in the same hour, because the old ones knew those two things live right next to each other and always have. Grief was not a private burden to be borne behind a closed door with a brave face. It was carried together, in the open, held up by many hands, so that no single person had to hold the whole weight of it at once. We have lost that, and I think it is one of the quiet tragedies of the way we live now. We grieve alone. We are given a few days, and then we are expected to go back, to be fine, to not make others uncomfortable with our sorrow. And so people carry crushing things in silence, certain that no one wants to hear it, certain they are burdening anyone who asks. If that is you tonight, hear me. You are not a burden. Your grief is not too much. Find the ones who will let you say the name, and say it to them. And if you cannot find them yet, then let this fire be that place for now. Here, tonight, you are allowed to miss them out loud. The old ones understood something else about time and grief that we have mislaid, and it is worth a moment by the fire. They did not expect a person to be finished mourning by some fixed day and then never speak of it again. Instead, they marked the loss as the seasons came around. There were times set aside, a turning of the year, a gathering, a quiet ritual, when the community remembered its dead together out in the open, and the grieving were not alone in their remembering. That is a wise thing when you think about it. It gave sorrow a place to live and a time to be spoken, so that it did not have to haunt every ordinary Tuesday, and so that the ones who mourned knew a day was coming when their loss would be held by many hands and not just their own. If you have no such ritual in your life, you are allowed to make one. A candle on a certain evening, a visit to a certain place, a meal cooked the way they cooked it, a quiet hour set aside to let them come back into the room on purpose so that you are the one who invited the wave instead of always being caught by it. The old ones would have understood that perfectly. And there is one more part to this, the part the old ones spoke of more softly, and I will offer it to you the same way, gently, and you may hold it or set it down as you please. They believed that the ones who love us do not go so far that they cannot still be near. They believed that in the deepest hours of grief, at the graveside, in the long night after, the ancestors and the ones we have lost draw close, not to frighten, never to frighten, to hold. And they said that sometimes, in the very worst of it, a person feels a strange and quiet steadiness come over them, a calm they did not make and cannot explain, that carries them through an hour they had no business surviving. The old ones would tell you that was not just your own strength. That was you being held. You were carried, and someone was doing the carrying. If you have felt that, do not explain it away. And if you have not, do not go looking for it or worry that it means you are alone. It comes in its own time, and its absence is not abandonment. But I have sat with too many grieving people who described that exact feeling to tell you it is nothing. So let me give you a few gentle things now before the fire burns low. Not assignments, not a checklist. Just some of the old, quiet ways of carrying a loss, and you take only what fits your hands. Keep a small place for them. A photograph on the shelf, a chair you do not fill, a habit you do not break, a cup you still pour. There is nothing morbid in it. It is a way of saying, you were here, you are still mine. Say their name to the people who will listen, and tell the stories, and do not apologize for the tears that come with them. The tears are not a breakdown. They are the body loving out loud, and the old ones never once thought less of a person for weeping. Do one small thing tonight that they loved. Cook the meal they always asked for. Play the song. Walk the path you walked together. Let it hurt and let it be sweet, both at once, because both at once is exactly right. And be patient with yourself. Be as patient with your own grieving heart as you would be with a dear friend who came to you carrying this same weight. You would not tell that friend to hurry up. You would not tell them they should be over it by now. You would sit with them and pour them something warm and let them be exactly as sad as they were. Do that for yourself. You have earned that gentleness. You are not doing this wrong. There is no wrong. There is only carrying it, one day and then the next, the way people have carried their dead beloved for as long as there have been people to love and lose. So as the fire burns down tonight, I want to leave you with this, and I want you to take it out into the dark with you. You are not broken. You are bereaved, and those are not the same thing at all. Broken is a thing that has failed and needs fixing. Bereaved is a thing that has loved and lost, and there is no fixing it because there is nothing wrong with it. It is the most human condition there is. The morning will keep coming, whether you are ready for it or not, and one of these mornings, not soon maybe, but one of them, you will notice that the light looks a little softer than it did. The love does not end. The person you carry is carried still, and you do not walk this stretch of the road by yourself, no matter how alone the night has felt. Someone walked it before you. Someone is walking it beside you right now, in a house you will never see, feeling exactly what you feel. And the old ones, the whole long line of them, are walking it too, and they are saying, in the only voice they have left, which is the voice of everything they taught us, rest now. Set the weight down for the night. We will help you carry it in the morning. You are not alone. You were never alone. Sleep now, if you can. I will keep the fire.